If you wouldn't mind, join me in thanking Luke for all the effort that he's put into this excellent event. I know it's for everyone here, it's a passion, not just a profession. And we're all pulling together and really trying to move this industry forward. But I know that I've been talking to Luke for almost 4 or 5 months at this point of just his regular daily support. So anyway, thank you for putting this together, and thank you all for joining me today. This is an industry and specifically a community that's very important to me personally. I joined IVRPA in 2010 in Tucson. Feels like in an eternity. In fact, I was sort of double checking the other day that it was 2010. I figured for sure it was 2006 or 8 or something, because this mere 6 years that has passed sure feels more like a decade. And a lot's happened in that time. The 360 photography space is evolving very quickly. And I've been very fortunate to ride that wave with you guys. I know that when I joined in 2010, I was showing off a humble little app. It was one of the, I think it was the first app that did looking around in 360 on mobile devices. And it was sort of it was considered a party trick at that time. I certainly think nobody views it that way at this point. And in fact, these mobile devices are really defining for us what the future is going to look like. These smartphones, tablets, VR headsets, they are creating, they are enabling new ways for us to capture this content. They are enabling new ways for us to enjoy this content. And they are enabling a much broader audience that we can reach with this content. Those three things all fall squarely within Google's wheelhouse for industries that we're looking to help scale and help evolve. And because these all come back to mobile in many cases, Street View itself has been really passionate about supporting the community. We're a mobile-first company, Google is, and a couple of years ago we took stock of where 360 photography was headed, and we said, we think we can really help this industry scale, but to do it, we really are going to have to reconsider our position as a desktop publishing destination. And so we've been looking at where that puck is headed, to use sort of a Wayne Gretzky analogy from hockey, and have decided to skate where that puck is headed rather than where it's at today. Last year was a tough year. We had to announce the shutdown of Views, and we did that so that we could really focus on the future that we can support with mobile publishing. And so it's moments like this that I look forward to all year. I know everyone here is passionate. Many of you have probably had a moment or two in the past few years where you've said, well, why did Google do that? Why did you, make this sort of non-obvious decision to go and shift headlong into mobile? And we've got really good data that will back that up today. And I think that the more we can give you transparency and insight into why we're making these sometimes non-obvious decisions, the more you'll be equipped to, I think, attack the opportunity that exists in the industry and even relay that to your prospects. I'm not going to speak just purely about economic, or I should say commercial opportunity today, but that's certainly one of the factors that we look at for helping the industry scale. So I am going to go and get into some of the things some of the great successes that we've accomplished in this past year and some of the new things that we're introducing. But before I do that, I want to take a step back and talk about that commercial opportunity. It may come as no surprise to you, but when users are looking for new places to visit, they turn to mapping apps and mapping websites 44% of the time. So a little shy of half the time people will use a mapping product, just like Google Maps. In fact, that's unsurprisingly, right there at the top of the list. 41% of those searches result in a user ending up on site at a location that they searched for. So those two metrics are very important in concert. Effectively, and I'm no mathematician here, but 41% of 44%, 18% of searches of the time people are interested in looking for a place, they search for a place with a mobile product, a mobile app, or a mapping website, and they end up going to that place. So that's, call it 1 in 5 people. That's pretty awesome, right? That 1 in 5 people are influenced enough by a mapping product that they end up somewhere. But what about those other 4 out of 5 times? Why aren't people ending up at a place because of the different valuable tools that we have out there. It will obviously come as no surprise to you guys that it's that incredulity that we have, that skepticism that a location is everything that it's purported to be in, like a maps listing. The environment may not actually be what we expect. The atmosphere might not be up to snuff. And so photos are obviously worth 1,000 words. We've heard that colloquialism a long time, but it's true. Photos really give us that greater sense of confidence. What we've all suspected, but I think we've had a lot of trouble wrestling with quantifying statistically, is how much do virtual tours matter? How much does that 360 content matter? And it turns out it matters quite a bit. We did a study this past year, and we looked at a series of listings, both restaurants and hotels, and we took the same listings and we deprived them of spherical content, and then we deprived them of photos. And we got all the way down to the point where it was a listing that was just text. And we looked at the conversion rate of people as they were looking at those listings. How likely were they to decide that a place was worth visiting with or without those media elements? And what we found was that when you have photos and a virtual tour, people are twice as likely to visit a place, are twice as likely to say that a place is worth visiting, that they are likely to visit, than if you don't have those media elements. So we've long heard that business owners are saying, well, sure, this looks great and it'll be good in a VR headset, but how does this move the needle for me? This puts more people in chairs in a restaurant. This puts more heads in beds in hotels. And so we think that this is, however, just the tip of the iceberg. Speaking with business prospects is just one of the different industry opportunities here. We do think there's something even bigger, which is to see 360 photography be part of the social vernacular, to get everyone thinking in 360 photography terms. I mean, everyone understands traditional photography, but what's it going to take for the world to be as comfortable with 360 photography as we are with traditional photography? And why is that important? We believe that's very important inside of Google because we have a two-pronged approach to helping this industry scale. And one of those is to make sure that everyone's comfortable with the medium. The second prong of our approach is to make sure that the highest quality contributors in that space are celebrated above everyone else. So it's breadth and depth. And obviously Google understands how to rank things well, and we're continuing to refine that. And we'll continue to try to celebrate the industry's best photographers. But we need this. 2 years ago, people were still sort of thinking of Street View in terms of its traditional descriptive sense. It's a view from the street. But what we found is Street View is one of Google's most popular brands, and it has transcended this notion of being descriptive as a street view. It is a proper noun. It is now being used as a verb. I pulled this because this really delighted me when I saw that some random publication that we have no interaction with is using this as a verb. They felt that the best way to describe capturing your world in 360 was to call it Street View Your Life. And there are now a lot of examples of this sort of thing. It's not about the Street View brand. It's about people realizing that capturing their lives in 360 is important, right? So I could care less that the name there is Street View. What matters is that we're framing the conversation in that way. Last night, I don't know how many of you guys were joined to the dinner. Obviously, a lot of you did. What was really interesting was looking around the different tables. There were more than just a couple of these Ricoh Theta S's sitting on the tables. I didn't see any DSLR rigs, and I'm not ragging on DSLR. That's still obviously the gold standard for the quality of imagery that you can produce. But it was really interesting to me to see how many professionals just said, look, I got to make this easy. I still want this moment captured. I'm going to put my Theta S up there. And if that's not a testament to where the industry's headed, I don't know what is. I mean, the reality is that's what everybody else is going to adopt. That's I'm not talking about Ricoh specifically, but the convenience factor there is where people are going to turn. And I think it's really commendable that this industry has been responsive to this revolution in the hardware in the last couple of years, because to turn a blind eye to that would be a very dangerous move at this point in the industry's matriculation. We've got an opportunity to really listen to what is likely to be a very broad consumer trend in the next couple of years. And so it's exciting to see that an organization like IVRPA and its members can appreciate both the very high-end scale side of the spectrum as well as the very accessible side. So a year ago, I talked about a bunch of changes in Prague. And as I mentioned, some of those were rather surprising, and some of them were met with lots of cheering and enthusiasm. I wanted to go and actually look at a handful of those key announcements and show you where we are a year later, because I think they're pretty exciting. The first one is that we told you that we were going to create the Street View app for Android and iOS. And a show of hands here, please, because if I don't see a lot of hands, I'm going to give you a brief demo. So if you want to get out of here faster, throw your hand up, I'll believe you. Who here has used the Street View app? Okay, so there you have it. I'm not going to demo the Street View app because you guys have all seen it, so that's great. But this is an app that we're very committed to. We are evolving it rapidly. In fact, in my experience, both outside and inside of Google, I have never seen a team iterate as quickly as the Street View app team we have. We are close to on track to having a new version of the app released every month. And that is so exciting. And we feel a lot of pressure to do that, right? We want to deliver on the industry's needs. And we're right there with you, right? We hear your pain points. We've got our UX designer in the back of the room. She's feverishly taking notes last night and today to hear what it is that you need so that we can work on those next generation features. And we're very committed to doing so. But this app has been really a great success for us. Not only is it beginning to exist as the canonical example of each 360 photographer's portfolio in the world, but it's really serving as a much more convenient entry point for photographers of all walks of life to contribute. Of note, in the last 3 months, the pace of contributions through the Street View app has doubled. And we're already talking at Google scale. And so that's indicative of the opportunity we have in front of us still. I think we continue to look at wanting to balance quality and quantity, but if you're doubling the pace of your contributions in 3 months, we are definitely looking at some type of inflection point. And I think we all need to hold on because we could be riding this for a while. These portfolios are very important too, of course. And we're going to continue to work on making sure that your representation of yourself in the Street View app is one that you're very proud of. We've heard in the past that there are professional photographers whose entire livelihoods are based on the type of impact they can speak to having with the Street View ecosystem of products and Google Maps. And I want to talk about one example. These are some guys that I have tremendous respect for. Aaron Spence and Carlos Chigado. I met them both in Tucson in 2010. Actually, I think that was when they were thinking about working together for the first time. And they're just exceptionally talented photographers, obviously not the only exceptionally talented ones in our midst. And unfortunately, they're not here to join us today. But they've accomplished some amazing things. In April of 2014, they joined Google Maps Views and had amassed 400,000 impressions in that first month. And by the end of 18 months later, by the end of September or into September of 2015, they had generated 40 million impressions, which is really inspiring. Yeah, please. 40 million, I mean, let's put that in perspective. How many people are you impacting there? And what's the opportunity that some of the people that see that are going to click back through to your profile, see your work, be inspired, contact you? That's a tremendous amount of visibility. And yet, I don't know how to launch the next screen of this slide without kind of giving away where it's headed. But something happened in September of last year. We launched the Street View app. And I won't belabor this too much. The pace at which their impressions were accumulating jumped 900%. And we are now seeing that in the last 9 months, that is half the time of the previous timetable, they have added an additional 175 million impressions. They're at 215 million impressions, which honestly I think deserves another round of applause. For me, when I see something like this, I realize that the inspiration that I had on the former slide is really it deserves more than that. I need to be thinking more broadly about the potential. As a product manager for this product, I need to be thinking more broadly. And I really encourage you all to do the same and hold me accountable to that. We've got an opportunity here to reach billions of people and to influence their decision making. And if one company can generate 215 million views in 2.5 years, or just over 2 years, what can we collectively do? And so, as we look at the hi-fi experiences that are being enabled, and I am extremely supportive of these, I want to make sure that we don't forget the long tail, which is an extremely long tail that is really going to influence the mass adoption in our industry, right? So these having annotations and having stereo and having great audio, these are experiences we should continue to push forward, and Google is very heavily invested in. But the reality is, when you walk into your next business, and the first time when you say, you know what, I didn't schedule this in advance, I just walked in and I showed them, and they were immediately familiar with Street View, and they already had cardboard at home, and they were excited about it, and they said, yeah, I definitely want to do it. That's going to come from this type of broad grassroots type of adoption that we see, not from the next-gen experiences that you have to go schedule and sit down with someone to fully experience. And so, definitely join us as we look at how we can build that adoption at scale. So one of the things that we're doing to support this outside of the Street View app, and I'm happy to announce today, is that later this week, the Google Maps app for Android and iOS is gaining a whole new gallery. The existing gallery did not recognize 360 photos in an immersive capacity on the mobile apps. It only did for images that were published by trusted photographers. Obviously, that's not right. We want anyone to be able to publish these images. We have plenty of professionals that aren't using the Street View editor. And so now, even when you publish through Google Maps or the Street View app or anywhere else, those images in the Google Maps apps will be displayed and recognized in immersive 360 form. And more importantly, this gallery represents the future of where we're headed. I published some images to this parliamentary building yesterday. And you'll notice the top image there in this gallery is interactive. You can tap on it, and it will actually take you into a combined gallery that shows photos and 360 photos all in one view. And it's immediately apparent that the 360 photos are interactive. It's just a much better experience, and it's one that we look forward to making sure that your clients and partners and those who enjoy your imagery have access to. I'm going to shift on to another theme from last year, which was simplifying the trusted program. We talked about opening up the borders of the program so that you could join from virtually any country in the world. We talked about no longer having restrictions on forcing you to not shoot hotels without permission, or museums or transit hubs or anything else that we could think of, but instead saying you can shoot anywhere that you have the legal right to shoot. We talked about lowering the latency so that the things that you publish are live immediately, and then they're moderated within a couple of days thereafter. And the net impact of that, if you look at every month this year since the beginning of the year, is that every month we're up 50% in terms of the total contributions from the program over the previous year. And that's no small accomplishment. This community of trusted photographers are a force to be reckoned with, and the fact that they can increase that volume by 50% is really admirable. And I think it's a testament to their dedication, but it's also a testament to how we've gotten out of their way. We've really helped empower them with those new policies. Last year we talked about the spherical cameras that we were going to be supporting, the 360 cameras with the Street View app. At the launch of our app, we actually had two partners. We had NCTech and we had Ricoh. And since then, in Barcelona at Mobile World Congress in, I think it was February, we announced two more partners, LG and Samsung. And this works with Google Street View brand as a brand that you should get comfortable with. It's not going anywhere. We've got more partnership opportunities in the pipeline, or partnerships in the pipeline. And this is something that we're very dedicated to supporting. We want to make sure that most of the cameras that come out all work out of the box to publish to Street View. We think that's going to help you. It's going to help the industry. Obviously, not all of these cameras are going to necessarily appeal to you, but again, it helps broaden the reach. I want to come back to the Ricoh Theta S, which I'm picking on in kind of a great way. This is an image shot with a Ricoh Theta S. This was shot by Andreas Sim, who's a trusted photographer. I believe he's here today. Andreas, maybe you can wave your hand. You're in the back. Okay. And yeah, it's beautiful. Andreas is one of many photographers that we've heard from in the past year who've said, like, you know, trusted program requirements or not, I'm shooting images like this and I'm selling them because I think that they're beautiful and my clients think that they're beautiful. And admittedly, they are beautiful. Here's a close-up from the same image. And like, I mean, I don't know if that's going to carry through in this, but that almost looks like DSLR quality. You know, this did take a little bit of cleanup from Andreas. He did corrected some curves a little bit, removed the tripod at the bottom, and did some sharpening in Photoshop. But still, this is fast, and for many purposes, the quality is really, really inspiring. And so again, as I was saying earlier, I think that this type of camera capability, as we follow it in the next few years, is really going to transcend just being a consumer tool to being a real prosumer tool. So another thing we talked about is a complete end-to-end publishing workflow that allows you to do everything on site. And obviously, central to supporting that is the idea of connectivity. I'm going to give you some demos here in a second on manual connectivity, but I want to talk about manual and auto connectivity. We launched both of them in this past month. Auto connectivity, we are, in most of our messaging, we've been talking about it as a type of experimental feature at this point. We're still working out the kinks, and so, you know, you are amongst the first to try it if you try it here, you know, after the conference. But auto connectivity holds a tremendous promise. Through a combination of different secret sauce approaches, if you capture images in a dense enough configuration, we can not only understand the relationship between them to spatially adjust them and adjust their orientations, but we can also extrapolate geometry from them, giving you that invisible skeleton that you drape the pixels on, just like we saw in the last presentation, obviously lower fidelity, but then enable those immersive 3D transitions in Street View that enable next-gen VR experiences. And so to be able to have that without having to mess around with an editor, desktop or mobile, is very, very exciting. And I'm going to show you some examples of how that is already starting to show tremendous promise as well. So I'm going to break into a couple of demos here for a minute, and then we'll come back to the deck. I was pulling some of these together last night. So here's one. Now, if the internet fails me, then I'm going to go ahead and try jumping on my own tethered device here, but let's see if this works. So I don't know anything about the folks that are publishing these images. Honestly, some of these people don't even know that you're supposed to capture the images at a great, at a very like limited distance, so that we're able to do the auto connect. But here's an example even at a great distance where this worked pretty well. So if I click over here at this bridge, we're going to see a second photosphere that was captured quite far from the first, and there was no intent from the photographer to manually connect these. This was done just purely based on our ability to assess elements within those images and pull you together so that you can jump back and forth between them. Here's another one. We're looking at a bridge in Cincinnati, and I'm just going to walk down the side of this bridge. Internet is a little slow here. Believe me, that's not pixelated in real life. But again, none of this was manually connected. This was all done automatically. And if I look up here at like the edge of the bridge, as I click forward, you'll even see the depth of this thing, that it's not just like a traditional like fade, but that we're actually getting a sense of that geometry. Let me look at a couple of more here. This is cool. I can go right up to the edge of this cliff. Oops, where am I? Let me go right up to the edge here. I'm going to let it load so it's crisp. The internet is failing me. Okay, here we go. Anyway, I can keep moving meter by meter forward. Here's a shopping center. Nothing particularly amazing about the shopping center, and I know that you guys would probably be capable of perhaps better photography even. But look how I can just very easily move forward and back through this space. And again, there was no manual connection here. Okay, so I think you get the point. Very, very exciting that we have this potential. And so what does it take to do this? Let me jump back into my presentation for a minute. to be eligible for auto connectivity, we ask that you shoot your 360 photos at 1 meter spacing when you're inside and 3 meter spacing when you're outside. And we're continually, literally iterating on this pipeline every single day. So if at first you publish the images and you don't like them, you don't like the connectivity, you have two options. One is, let's take a look at manual connectivity, and I'll show you that in a second. And that's a great way to kind of clean up anything that's not working for you. And the second is, just give us time, right? Because this is a very important mission for us. We believe that the future here is that you won't deal with connectivity anymore. This will be just something that we've abstracted away. You worry about wonderful images, and these don't even have to have GPS, and we'll handle the rest for you. Now, I want to give you a mobile demo here for a minute on manual connectivity. My alarm. So I shot a few places yesterday. There's a Starbucks right across the street. I guess this is just going to be a thing, so sorry, please live with whatever flickering is going on there. So here I am at the entrance to the Starbucks, and let me show you how easy this is. There is no map view. We've managed to figure out how you don't have to deal with a map view. So I'm just going to long press where I want to connect to another image. Now I see all the other images that I shot that were nearby, and I can sort this list by time or by distance. So it will show me the next ranking results nearby based on proximity or chronology. I like it based on time. I feel that I know that I shot things in a certain sequence, so I can just go back 8 seconds earlier, which is, by the way, the new interval that we're enabling with the Street View app with the Ricoh Theta S. That's very fast. So let me just go back in time 8 seconds earlier. And now what I have to do here is pretty straightforward. I have to align the top image with the bottom image. So you see here, I'll look at this black car and I'll say, okay, it's in the same place up top as it is down below. So I'm just going to hit this check mark. And that's it. I've now created the connection. You'll see that this is a true, proper chevron, just as it would exist in normal maps products. And I can move back and forth with this chevron to move closer to that car. Let me give you another example. Let's back out of here. So here's like some sort of poster podium right outside the parliamentary building. And I already made one connection, but I want to show you a new one. So I'll start here. And what I did was kind of silly. So I first of all, here's an example. Here's this podium. I can move back and forth between the connection I already made. Watch this. So watch the podium, watch the people in the background and the street, and see how I'm able to move right back and forth between the two. I'll make a new one for you just so that it's super clear here. So my next one is going to be right here in front of this podium. So I just long press. I'll select it. That's the right one. Now I line up so that I'm seeing the same field of view in both cases. I'm looking for this tree. Here we go. And I hit the check mark. And now I can move back and forth between the two. And I can create an entire constellation this way. So you can see how the combination of manual connectivity, there's my two chevrons, and auto connectivity can be a very powerful combination. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So that's live, and we're still, the team is committed to enhancing and refining that. We've got an update going out in a few weeks that makes that an even more enjoyable experience. But both are being updated regularly. So my appeal to you today is please start to get familiar with these. If you've had reservations about where mobile plus Street View is going, I think you'll see a pretty good taste of it. And we're going to continue to evolve this over the course of the next year. But the idea is by this time next year, we hope that you'll not have to be using a desktop editor for connectivity anymore. So I'm going to keep moving on here. The next thing I want to talk about is something that was painful for some of you guys, which was the Google Maps Views uploader last year. This time last year, we announced that we were going to be shutting down the editor, and that after that, we would be reincarnating the ability to upload photos and 360 photos to places on the map that were not bound by a maps listing. I know that's kind of a hard thing to explain, but basically we have maps listings for businesses and important places of interest. But sometimes you just want to say, this was a beautiful image or sunset that I shot, and I don't want to attach it to a park or a business. I just want it to be posted to Google Maps right there. And so I'm proud to announce today, and I'm going to give you the first demo anybody's ever seen, that later this week we are officially rolling out the Google Maps uploader. In fact, it's already propagating. So that means by the end of the week, everybody will have access to this. And this gives you the long missing functionality that we took down with views. I'm so happy to bring this back to you. Let's take a look at this together. So here's what you have to do to get there. Is everyone familiar with your contributions pane in Google Maps? Okay, so I don't know. Can I see hands just to see if I need to go through this? So about half of you are. So I'm going to go through this. From the left-hand side of google.com/maps, you've got a side menu here where you can choose a bunch of things. One of the things you can choose is your contributions. And you'll get what is essentially sort of the spiritual successor to Google Maps views. You've got a summary of things that you've contributed, whether they're reviews or photos. The Photos tab is the piece that's relevant here. You can now choose to upload a photo. Again, this button looks familiar if you remember views, where you can go and actually select images that you want to upload. I'm just going to choose one from my computer. I'm going to choose from my desktop the Parliamentary Building. Here's a statue that I shot. It's going to take a minute to upload, but when it's done, I have the ability to update the location of the image and then publish it. So might seem like a small detail, but for those of you who are really committed to the platform, this is a really important feature that we're finally returning. I'm going to spare you just because I think this is going to take a really long time with the internet, but if you want to see this after the fact, come check with me, please. You can add your images. Yes, that's right. So if you publish your 360 photos to Google Drive, then you can actually access them through that portal and pull up those images. Another important point that's related to that is the Street View app gives you the ability to import photos from Google Drive on Android or iOS. And that's a really powerful combination, right? Because you may be a card-carrying DSLR-based photographer shooting the best imagery. Yeah, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. That's awesome. And with the images that you publish, then, even if you had nothing to do with mobile, as long as they're in Drive, you pull them up in the Street View app. You can do the auto or manual connection. Actually, today, I need to clarify, today only the images from 360 cameras work with auto connectivity. And this is only for like the next couple of weeks. By the end of this month, they will support DSLR images too. Okay, so we're in the midst. Let's just leave it there. So it might work for you, but by the end of this month, it will work with those DSLR images. But this gives you the advantage, if you did have them in Google Drive, that you can work with manual connections, you can place associate, you can do some of the other things that you might want to do, all from your desktop, from your mobile device, which is, again, that's the interface that we're really prioritizing at this point. So one more thing that we didn't talk about last year, but has been notable for us. We've been working on our featured notifications. We do a featured special collection in the Street View Gallery every week or two, and these collections can generate hundreds of millions of impressions in a day or two, right? They're very high visibility. My favorite one that we did recently is we took people inside Bruce Wayne's residence, and you know, no big surprise here, but you could click through the wrong alleyway or hallway in his house and get into the Batcave and see all kinds of cool stuff. And that was a lot of fun for people. But one thing that we've never done is we've never featured a full-blown UGC content from third-party contributors such as yourselves. And so what I'm really delighted to announce is the IVRPA Quebec City Street View Challenge. This is going to be our first opportunity to do so. We're rolling out a new version of the Street View Gallery in the next couple of weeks. Let's see if I can get there. And this is, you know, I don't know if many of you guys have spent time at google.com/streetview. If you have, this is not what you're used to seeing. But it's a totally redesigned website that's really designed to scale with lots of different browsers, give you the ability to parse through the featured content a lot better. You have this ability to jump into different key entry points in a collection, but then still really plow through in space and actually, explore in the traditional Street View capacity. This is only for featured content, so we're very careful. We notify the Street View app users when there are new collections in the gallery, and these, again, they generate a tremendous amount of visibility. But this has been Google's own rodeo for the last couple of years. And so those of you who join us in the Quebec City Street View Challenge and publish your imagery to Google Maps, not only will you be judged on your entries with the potential to win a prize at the end of this week, but you all win in the sense that your imagery will be featured in our first collection in this gallery and will be pushed out in a notification to our many, many millions of Street View app users, generating hopefully a lot of visibility for you. Last thing I want to just talk about is the pace at which we've been innovating this year. It's really, really exciting for me. And as you heard from Jeremy earlier this morning, there's a lot of advancements going on in the VR space. Street View is a real spotlight example of where Google is taking VR. We have an entire VR version of the app that's being prepared. It will be the same app that you have today. It's simply going to gain a whole second half to the app. We think this will help generate more excitement. We look forward to bringing that to you. We're working on new automated workflows, new sales-centric functionality, and new tools to help you really understand the impact of your contributions. And we're going to be announcing a whole lot more next week at the first annual Google Street View Summit, which is being hosted in Amsterdam. And I'm really excited about this. That's a testament to where Street View is headed. Our event is being hosted on a boat, not anything to do with the street. This is an invitation-only event, and last I checked, we have about 45 additional seats left before the entire ship fills. So if you're interested in joining the event, and attendance is free, please come see me today, and I will carve out a whitelisted account for you to join. It is, otherwise you won't have the ability to register. For you, the expense will be the hotel and the travel, but we're taking care of the actual cost of the summit itself. And that brings me to the last thing, which is this has been a blast so far this week, and I can't wait for next week. There's going to be a whole lot announced there. And I don't want to do that to you next year. We don't want to have the Street View Summit in one great part of the world and IVRPA in another great part of the world, because that's hard for all of us. So regardless of where these conferences are going to reside next year, we're going to make sure they're in the same place. And with that, I'd like to open it up to questions. Thanks. Yes. Yeah, yes. Go for it. I'll relay your question. Can you publish aerial 360 photos to Street View? Absolutely, you can. Street View is based on this idea of lat-long coordinates, so altitude is not one of the immediate parameters. If you have the ability to build that into any of your metadata, wonderful. But really, it's just going to be defined by its place on the ground. So if you, for example, shot aerial at every few meters, you could create a whole string of those. Whatever you want to do. Other questions, please?
Hi. I'm wondering if Google Street View has any plan of integrating 360 videos, and second of all, if it has any plans of integrating heat maps in these photos that businesses can then learn from, well, which products?
To my knowledge, we are not currently pursuing the heat maps. I mean, I know that's an interesting space. I think it's a little bit early. I think I can answer both questions the same way, which is maybe not on the heat maps, we're not directly investigating it, but on video and VR and geometry and everything else, we're investigating on all fronts. What we're cautioning against is that we really want to make sure that Street View is focusing on that 95% of the market opportunity. And so the products and capabilities that you see from us from the next year are really meant to expand the reach and not so much drive forward, like how do you get video into Street View just yet. If we can really double down on that core capability, which is obviously moving the needle for people, we think we can help you all be more successful. The other thing that I want to point out is there was this discussion in the VR panel this morning, like, you know, even the question was framed, is it, you know, are 360 photos dead now that we have stereo, or now that we have VR capabilities and with video? Is this all moving into video and stereo? I think that's a very dangerous way to even frame the question. The potential to capture close enough images and derive the geometry of spaces and allow people to move freely is a very valuable experience. And it's just a very different one than the narrative cinematic experience that you have with video. I love the narrative cinematic experience, but we should be careful to assume that the free range, let me look around on my own leisure experience is one that doesn't hold a really bright, shiny future. I definitely think it does. I know that's not your question. It was just a bandstand opportunity for me.
Okay,
Thanks.
well, thank you, Charles. Well, a quick one.
I would like to share one information you claimed, but I need to know if it is true. You claimed that the real visit of the location is doubled by seeing the 360 panorama. Where did you get that information? Is that your own research or just prediction, or
The
what
doubling
is the
of
base?
interest was from, we hired an outside company to, and we're very careful, and actually the details of that study are published on our website.
Can you
Yes,
establish somewhere that source?
google.com/maps/streetview/trusted. If you go halfway down the page, there's a carousel that talks about different things that were part of this third-party study that we commissioned, and the last page of that shows the exact details of the study.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Armstrong, thank you so much.